Welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy is the best way to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swartz. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the best financial independents and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration, so together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Our next guest is really focused on helping people grow their business and spread leadership and business ideas for entrepreneurs, business owners, or high net worth individuals. In fact, one way to put it is, many entrepreneurs and business owners, they struggle with growing sales, personal development, emotional intelligence, and looking for leadership content as a way to help their teams and grow their profits. Our guest is a corporate speaker, award-winning radio host, leadership expert, and best-selling author of a book called School for Startups. He also has one of the most listened to AM radio stations, FM AM radio stations, School for Startups. He's presented all over the world, including Brazil, Dubai, United Kingdom, all across America, and he's also presented at some of the top companies in America: Wells Fargo, UPS. Some of my favorites: Sam's Clubs, Chick-fil-A. I think they have one of the best chicken sandwiches out. Toshiba, Grubb & Ellis. So I want you to welcome to the show Jim Beach.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. I am honored. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, it's thanks for being here, Jim. Will you give our listeners a little bit about your story and your current focus?
My story, let's see. Most important thing was I got fired from Coca-Cola at the age of 23 or something like that. And my life was over. I had one goal in life, that was to be the CEO of Coca-Cola, and had done my entire academic career. Everything was designed with that in mind, including where I got my MBA and everything. And they didn't like me. And so they had two really big guys ask me to leave the building, and then they helped me leave the building. And I was devastated. And I asked my friend, who sort of a mentor at Coke, a guy who's invented drinks that you drink every day, and famous best-selling drinks. And he said, Jim, you're not cut out to be a corporate person. You should be an entrepreneur. And I was like, entre what? And he's like, yeah, you need to start a business. And it had never occurred to me. That thought was completely crazy to me, but I had no other choice really at that point. At this time, we're talking 93, 94. The only other option was a bad job market then. It was a really bad job market. So I kept getting job offers, but all of them involved going back to Japan, where I had just come from, and didn't want to do that. I was kind of tired of that. That was the Coke thing. And so I think it was easier then to start a business than to find a job. Of course, that's the exact opposite today. But back then, finding a job was really, really difficult. And so I started my first business when I was 23.
Wow, what a story, from trying to run up the corporate ladder, to being fired, to starting your own company at 23 and becoming an entrepreneur. Fast forward, what's your current focus today?
Largely helping other people become entrepreneurs, but I'm still starting businesses right now. So right now I'm mostly involved in the podcast space, and I don't mean that from the fact that I have my own podcast radio show. I'm talking something totally different. I've started a business that I liken to, and I hate this analogy, but I will use it anyway. All of the people who got rich from the California gold rush, name some of those people. Well, there was a guy named Wells and a guy named Fargo, and there was a guy named Levi and a guy named Strauss. All of those people provided infrastructure to people who didn't make money in the gold rush. And I think the podcast space is very similar. I've started a podcast infrastructure business that I think will help podcasters in a significant way. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm in the podcast space as a business, not as a content producer, though I do produce content.
That's wonderful. Plug that right now. If people wanted to learn more about that, where would they go to learn about that business?
Right behind me, right here, pod24.com. It is like Sirius or any other collection of channels. It's a collection of podcast channels. So you don't get enough listeners. You want to get more listeners. I can get you more listeners. So we would sign you up to be part of the small business or maybe financial planning channel on Pod24. If you want to learn about cooking, you go to Pod24 Cooking. If you want to learn about parenting, Pod24 Parenting. And there you would find the 30 or 40 best parenting podcasts. And instead of being one of these 72% of the market who has no idea how to get a podcast. So if you go to the mass market and say, go download a podcast, they go, no clue. And then you say, go find a cooking podcast. They have no clue. Whereas you go to Pod24 and it just starts making noise, which is what most of us are used to. We have all of these devices in our house that we turn on, or these things in our car, and we turn it on and it just makes noise. I don't have to find the noise. The noise just starts. And so Pod24 is the same thing, designed to get you thousands and thousands of new listeners. So my show, I get about 170,000 listeners a day, 6 days a week. Most people don't get anywhere close to that. I mean, that's in the top 0.5% of podcasts. I can show you how to do that. And so Pod24 is designed to get those sort of numbers for you. And then secondarily, I'm on 25 AM FM stations around the country. I can get a podcast host, national syndication overnight, and make them a nationally syndicated radio host overnight. That costs about $10,000 a month. I can do it for $220, $225, something in that ballpark. So that's what that business does.
That sounds like an amazing business that it's transforming radio and podcasts and seamlessly putting them together so that if I'm a listener 24/7, I can just turn it on like I would my radio, my TV, it's coming and it's doing. And then if I'm actually a podcast host, to spread my audience rapidly. You know,
it's mindlessly simple and stupid that there's not a place you just go and it just starts making noise, you know, because that's what we're used to. We're used to the TV and the radio, and I turn the radio on and it just starts, you know, and so it's the same thing with a collection of channels on a particular topic. I think it's really cool. It's designed for my mother, you know, the people who listen but don't have a clue how to find anything. And I think that, you know, a lot of podcast hosts that message will be compelling. So it's right up my alley in terms of all of my things that I look at a new business. So I put it through all of my filters. Number one, I started this business for under $10,000. So the risk is zero. And so my standard for risk is very simple. Does it cost more than a week at Disney vacation for my family? So I have 4 of the Munchkinite kids, and me and the wife, we both want to go too. So you add that up, that's $600 a day just to get in the door. You know, so that's $10,000 a week, easy vacation. That's what I'm willing to risk on a business. I can afford to lose that. And so it's not a risk, it's an investment more. I don't know what the word is, but it's certainly not a risk.
Well, it's an investment if it succeeds, right? But it's not an unrealistic or unreasonable risk to take because it's only $10,000, and if your net worth is big enough and you've saved enough, then it's not.
Well, a lot of people go to Disney and they're called middle class, so a lot of people can afford to lose that. I'm a little better than middle class, I hope, and so that's my standard. Then secondly, I don't think there's really much creativity here. When I tell someone the idea, they're like, oh yeah, it's just like, the radio or the TV, except for podcasts. So the creativity, it's not creative. It's a 1% incremental change over something that already exists. which means that I wouldn't call it creative. I would call it an incremental improvement, which is what entrepreneurs are supposed to do. Don't go try to be creative. Just find some idea and do it better than the other people. 93% of businesses are copies of other existing businesses. So why go try to do something new? And then thirdly,
that makes perfect sense. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Make a 1% incremental change, incremental improvement, and because truly 93% of all businesses are copies. Keep going. What's number 3?
Passion. I am really passionate about my Munchkinite kids and my beautiful wife. And I got 2 dogs that I love, and even, I hate to say this, a cat that I kind of like. And
what kind of dogs do you have?
Dobermans, female Dobermans. As a matter of fact, there's one right here trying to get into the room. But we don't have the ear surgery. So we have floppy ears, not pointy ears, because you know what? Another one of my just beliefs in life is that dogs don't need plastic surgery. And that buying plastic surgery on a dog is pretty much a pure indicator that you're a moron, so I'm just not going to buy plastic surgery on my dogs.
That's fair. I think that's reasonable. What's number 4?
Yeah. So anyway, no, let me get back to number 3. Number 3 is, I'm passionate about my family, not the business, not any of the business stuff. So I will sell purses, which I've done. I will sell leather jackets, which I've done. I will sell furniture, which I have done. I'm not passionate about a single one of those. I don't use a single one or have a single one of my products. We have businesses now that we don't like the product, wouldn't recommend the product. I think the people who buy the product are called morons. But you know what? I will sell to morons all day long and have no moral issue. I will sleep very well at night with that. So having said that, I like this podcast idea, but I'm not in love with it. I like it, but I still would rather be at Disney with the family and take the Munchkinites to Disney. So it fits all of my initial criteria. Plus, I think I can scale the daylights out of this thing. It doesn't take many people who see that vision to make this really successful, especially because I've invested less than $10,000 on it. So anyway, those are all my criteria. That's what I'm working on today.
I love that you share those 4. Now I want you to connect that with our listeners. Before, Jim was an educator, an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, traveled the world speaking to big companies. What gifts were you given as a child that helped you shape how you help others today?
Damn, that's an unexpected question. First of all, the first thing I have to say is I had the best, most supportive, loving, great parents in the world. And now they've been not replaced, but augmented, supplemented by the best, most supporting, loving wife in the world, entrepreneurial wife. So I've had a non-entrepreneurial wife, and I got a divorce thing and remarried. And now my wife is 100% in tune with being an entrepreneur. The first wife just wasn't, and it's my fault. I lied to her. When I asked her to marry me, she thought she was going to marry an architect, and I didn't turn out to be an architect. I lied about that. And not lied, but it just didn't turn out that way. I got kicked out of architecture school, sort of like getting fired from Coke. I'm seeing a trend here. I got kicked out of architecture school. But anyway, so having said that, the most loving, supportive parents in the world, the story, I'll tell the watch story. So when I was 8 or 9 years old, I asked for a watch for my birthday. And it wasn't because I wanted to know what time it was. That really, I needed to know the time. I was so insecure that I knew that if I went to our weekly assemblies at school, which were held at 11:35, I knew that if I got there at 11:34, no one would sit down next to me on the row. And so I would be incredibly embarrassed because the row would be empty because I was such a social pariah loser, the biggest loser on earth. But if I could hide in the bathroom until 11:36 or 11:37 using my new watch, I could sneak in after they had started for 30 seconds, not get in trouble for being late, and sit down next to you, and you couldn't move because the assembly had already started. And therefore, I wouldn't sit alone. And so I got a watch for my birthday.
Interesting. So something connected with finding a way to precisely determine how and when you would enter that auditorium so that you wouldn't feel alone. Mm-hmm. So connect that now with starting businesses and being an entrepreneur and helping others do the same.
It connects so much more than you think. First of all, my first business was a summer camp business, and it wasn't, well, we taught technology. So we taught computers, HTML, computer design, web design, movie making at places like Stanford, MIT, Georgetown, UCLA, Sorbonne, Cambridge, Oxford, 89 of the best local universities in the world. In any particular city, we were at that city's downtown significant university, Stanford, MIT, Georgetown, the big school in town, SMU, UCLA, University of Michigan, Emory, the good school. We thought we were teaching computer skills the first couple of years. We had 96 students. Within 7 years, we had grown to 20,000 students, doing millions of dollars, having 700 employees, 89 locations, because we figured out a secret sauce. Our secret sauce was we were taking unhappy kids and making them happy. We were giving them the watch that I got as a kid. We took a kid who was not lacrosse, soccer, football, cheerleader, was not on the cool table at school, and taught them that there is a kid right here who wants to be your best friend. We gave them best friends and taught them that there's nothing cooler in the world than being smart. And that a long time from now, that football player that you're jealous of is going to call you boss. That stereotypical little joke that we've all heard. But it's a true story, by the way, and you are going to be very successful because the skills that we're teaching you right now are very, very useful. Plus, this kid right here thinks you're cool because you played the same video game and he would like to play with you. We would send kids home happy, smiling, laughing with a best friend for their first time. What is that worth? What do you charge for that? How do you market that? Well, we figured out how to market that. And once we got mom on the phone, within 9 minutes, I had mom crying, getting out her credit card because her child was the kid in the bathroom hiding with the watch. And I would tell the mom the watch story, and the mother would realize I was her child and that I was a happy, well-adjusted adult who was successful and could talk to people and was happy, and all their mother could do was think of how they could sign up fast enough to get their kid in a program that could show them that. How's that for cool?
I love those two thoughts you put. Yeah, thank you, Jim, for sharing that story. Nothing cooler than being smart, right? So essentially, you were helping to reshape their identity, and also where they found their self-worth, but also through connection and community, right? Which is what we all need. Connection, community, our place in this world. And so as a college-age student who's looking for that place, and obviously the revolution of technology during that time and still going on, you were able to connect those dots, and what a priceless gift that you can give to them, and you happen to make some money while you're doing it.
One thing, it wasn't college kids, it was at college, but it was for kids from 7 to 17, and the college kids were our counselors. So Stanford, we hired 100 Stanford undergrads a year to be our counselors. But we're talking about making 8-year-olds happy. The kind of thing that makes you cry. Absolutely. We would get a letter, in August, September. I would get hundreds of letters from mom saying, I had not seen my child smile in 2 or 3 years, and he came home laughing. What do you do with that?
That makes all the difference. That'll keep you going. That'll help you start another 10 businesses, right? To try to change the world. That one story right there.
Well, it proves so many things. It proves that a really profitable business can have a huge social impact, right? And at 25, I wasn't smart enough to see what we were. 26, 27, we figured it out because that became our growth engine. Once we became able to tell this, it became, the way we would market the business. But it also is useful for everyone today in the fact that if you can figure out why your business is that sexy, you can also have a message that makes people cry or get their checkbook out or whatever. So I believe that if we work really hard, I can figure out how any business can be that sexy. And that's one of the talks that I do now on the corporate circuit. It's called Rock Stars in an Elevator. It's 14 songs that create perfect templates for elevator pitches or value propositions. And you can go in, if you just Google Jim Beach elevator pitch, Rock Stars elevator on that YouTube thing, you can see a presentation of that. And it's really cool. We take songs, a couple Kanye West, Beatles, songs that everyone knows, some Johnny Cash, a little bit of Lady Gaga. And those songs are amazing elevator pitches or templates for your business. So Lady Gaga, new, shocking, provocative, right? Everything she did was designed to provoke some sort of an emotion. She showed up at the Emmys or whatever, the Grammys, in a dress made out of meat cutlets. Why did she do that? To shock us and to provoke us, right? So it makes sense then that a value proposition that shocks and provokes is also going to be useful. Our first value proposition for the computer camp business was, we teach kids computer skills at summer camp, not horses. And people back in 1994 would go, wow, that's never heard of that before, because no one had ever done that before. But 3 or 4 years later, we had evolved to a Aerosmith Sweet Emotion. I got a letter from mom saying that their kid saw or was happy for the first time. That's what I do for a living. So all of a sudden the value proposition has changed because I understand the business better, and the template has changed as well. So there's an Aerosmith template based on the emotional impact that you feel when you hear about the business.
Shock and provoke. I also heard another way to market is to be surprising and delightful. And these concepts of grabbing attention, and then obviously enlightening or educating along the way is a second stage, and then empowering whoever the customer is with some sort of tool or some sort of outcome like yours is for self-confidence and for getting it connected with the community. If you're doing those things, it seems like the finances would take care of themselves. However, Jim, we're talking a little bit in emotion and connection. Let's shift a little bit to the financial part of things. So walk us through what came first. I guess the emotional connection with you, perhaps that came first, but when did the financial connection to, okay, how do we make these numbers make sense? How do we help people reduce taxes? How do we help business owners succeed? Walk us through that part of your educational platform.
Well, first of all, I need to say that I'm not particularly good at that. I'm the type of person that needs to hire you, because I believe that entrepreneurs are good at certain things. I'm really good at value propositions and growing businesses and figuring out how to grow a business with no money and stuff like that. Once I get the money, I think that I'm smart enough now, not then, now, to figure out how I can hire someone to manage the tax stuff for me, right? But I certainly love the tax benefits of owning the LLC, right? I think that's an imperative for all of us small business owners to run as much through that as possible. Everything that your advisor, your CPA will let you run through that should be a business expense. All the way down to hiring your children to help stuff envelopes, right? So we do that. We hire our kids. Our kids work for us. And we have Saturdays or Sundays where every kid, or we'll do stuffing envelopes, or we have an Amazon business, so we have a lot of stickering to do. And we have a 4-year-old, and she stickers. And people, our CPA said, really? You're really going to say that to the IRS? And I got my phone out and I was like, well, look, right here it is. Here she is stickering. And we had the whole family, and I videoed it because I thought we were really cute. I thought I wasn't doing it to IRS. I was just doing it because I thought we were really cute. We were having a family moment. We were watching Rapunzel. We were all watching Disney and doing financial planning together. But anyway, I do highly stress the importance of, number one, a financial advisor. Number two, the LLC structure to put a lot of that stuff through. So does it make sense for your automobile to be in the LLC? I think, ask your guy. For me, I know my answer. And for all of the other pieces. And when you take away a lot of those pieces, you take away a fifth of your mortgage and a fifth of your electricity and all of those, and whatever you're willing to do, whatever risk level you're willing to take. And this is interesting. Whereas I'm not willing to risk $10,000 to start a business, I am willing to risk $10,000 to reduce my taxes or anything like that, right? And so take those strategies. Have a home-based business for the reason of having home-based deductions. I believe in those strategies. Very, very important to do that. And then also, you need to be growing. So my third thing is that no matter what level you're on, you still need to be finding some new income stream every year. So I'm obsessed with the income diversification, the 6-7 streams that I think that you should have. And then
walk us through that, Jim. So maybe the average investor or entrepreneur or business owner, walk us through 6 or 7. When you say diversified, are you saying like 6 or 7 different businesses or 6 or 7 different real estate investments? Or walk us through what that might look like for somebody.
In a perfect world, either you or your wife has a job. Okay, I like a job, and the reason I like a job is because it comes with those things. What are they called? Benefits, like health insurance, right? So I do like some of the shared health insurance type plans. I don't remember any of the name of them right now, but I know there's a Christian shared insurance network and there's a non-Christian one as well. So for your insurance, I love those for the entrepreneur. $500 a month gets a family of 4. You share all of your bills. Those are great. So do that instead of the traditional insurance. But I would like to have one of you have a job. So there's income stream number 1. And it provides a little stability, and it gets your tax deduction or your first tax deducted automatically every year. So that hopefully is your tax bill, which again plays back into the tax strategy. Number 2, then, I want some sort of real estate investment. I think that the average entrepreneur should, over the course of the 50-year run, find enough money to throw off 5 or 6 rentals that pay the $1,200 to $1,500 per month rental, the $150,000 3-1 ranch. And here's another one of my criteria. They're always within earshot of either a university or a Starbucks. And so we have rentals, and all of them are within 5 minutes of a university, which means we always have renters, a new pool of renters. And so we believe very, very, very strongly in that. My goal for that is to have 5 or 6 paid off homes by the age of 65 that are producing $1,000 to $2,000 a month of mailbox money income. So I think that's strategy number 2. And maybe you work your way up to owning a small duplex or a quad or a strip shopping center. But I want to dabble in real estate, and I personally have chosen rental residential close to Starbucks and university. is my exact model. And I'll pay off 20% down and pay the rest over time, over 20 years. And then it's amazing how fast 20 years goes, you know, and those things are paid off. So my wife and I, we just celebrated our 10th, but we still have the home that she lived in when we were dating. And that house is now 15 years paid off, only 5 years until it's paid off. She'll have a paid off home at the age of 42. That's nice. That makes the second one go faster, right? So there's income stream number 2. Then the other spouse should have a primary income stream as well, as an entrepreneur, for example. A real estate company that they own, a trucking company, a church's franchise, something that is a primary entrepreneurial income. So for me, it changes. You know, it's hopefully going to be podcasting next, but some sort of income that produces $100,000 a year. And that's not that hard to find. You know, those, you can easily go buy a business that produces $100,000 a year with under $50,000 of down payment. There's 1,000 business brokers that will sell you that business today. And with all of the baby boomers retiring, 12 million baby boomers retiring in the next 5 years, that's going to be thousands of businesses that need to be sold. And these are businesses that do $1.2 million a year. You know, they're a landscaping business that has 30 commercial clients. You know, a business like that, you know, a trucking company that owns 12 trucks, you know, a piston repair franchise. I know a guy who owns 3 piston repair franchises. I don't even know what that means, but he has a really nice house, right? So something like that. You either start it, you buy it, whatever. So there's going to be income stream number 3. Income stream number 4 is you're now an industry expert. You go talk about that, right? So you should make $10,000 a year talking about that, right? Because now you're an industry expert because you own a business. Number 5, I want you to start an Amazon business. Morons run Amazon businesses like my wife and I, right? But here is a true story, and a story that's true is just so much more interesting. I gave her Skip McGrath, McGrath, skipmcgrath.com. I gave my wife his Amazon business template book, and it taught her how to run an Amazon business. She spent $500, made $76,000 in the first year of profit while working full time, while taking care of 4 kids, while taking care of a needy husband like me. She and the family stickering while watching Rapunzel turned 500 into over 70 in 1 year. Income stream number 5. My wife then started a business talking about that. Income stream number 6. We're not even getting far-fetched yet.
Wow. Okay, so let me do a summary. So W-2 job is the first one. Someone have it. You or your spouse.
You know, even Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano owned the garbage business on the side.
He had the garbage business on the side. Yep.
Remember that?
Second one is real estate. I do remember that. Second one is own some real estate, 6 or 7 rentals by 65, have some kind of goal, 5 or 6 of those paid off, but 20% down, and collect the rents, $1,200 to $1,500 a month, near universities or Starbucks. Next one would be the entrepreneurial, maybe part of the spouse or side business, earning somewhere around $100,000 a year. It could be a franchise. It could be real estate brokerage. It could be trucking company. Next one is become an industry expert and get paid $10,000 or so a year talking about that, which moves into maybe the stay-at-home mom. So Jim, I have 5 kids. So if I show my wife this video and this podcast, I'm going to connect her with your wife because I'm going to say, look, Jim's wife with 4 kids watched watching Rapunzel was able to turn $500 into $75,000 in profit through an Amazon. She just read this book by Skip McGrath, and she went for it, and she's doing great. Now, from there, I'll say, if you do well there, then we'll put you as an industry expert where you can go around
teaching that class to other people in the neighborhood. Other wives in the neighborhood want that business, and they won't do it, but we've had classes in our house where we charge $20 and we advertise it on Nextdoor and Facebook, and we have 40 people show up for an hour class, and we made $800 for an hour and a half of work. And here's the so cool thing. Here's the so cool thing. My introverted, I can't succeed wife has now learned that she can become a successful entrepreneur and have people who are so interested in what she's doing, they're willing to pay to come to her house and listen. She's changed as a person because of the entrepreneurial success that she's had. It's made her a better everything. Mother, a wife, lover, everything. It's better because she's more confident. She knows that she can turn $500 into $76,000. I mean, that's a huge driving force. And the question is, what do you sell? So let me go ahead and address that. Always the question is, what do you sell? Anything you can get your hands on in bulk. So we sell anything. We've sold horse cleaning kits, brass cleaning kits, baby supplements that we don't believe in, but we sell it anyway. And can I say, can I get a little bit edgy?
Please.
Gluten-free, organic, non-GMO sex lube.
Whoa.
Good seller for us.
It's
a good seller for us. It's a good seller. We don't use it. We like gluten-packed lube, sex lube at our house. But I don't even know what that means. But I just tell you, we don't care what the product is. If we can find it in bulk, we buy it by the case. We then sell it on Amazon by the single and make money.
Wow, this is inspirational and encouraging. And I heard the major reason for setting goals, Jim, is not what you get, but what you become. And I think you connected that well with. It's similar to you. My wife is the more of the introvert. She's the introvert, and I could see how that can really empower individuals to get outside of their shell. Because I think too often introverts are told that there's certain things you can and can't do. Unless you're an extrovert, you can't be an entrepreneur. You can't really be successful. You can't lead a team. And it's just all these false narratives we're growing up with or we accept in society. So I think that's a very powerful way to grow as an individual. So thank you for sharing that. So shifting a little bit here. After helping so many people do what they do and do better at what they do, what is the best way that people who work with you really grow and leverage your expertise to grow their business? In other words, what tools or what are they doing to connect with you or get educated or learn from you? What's the best way they're taking that to grow their business? What can business professionals do?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I've changed your mindset about what it is to be an entrepreneur. So I hope that simply redefining risk, creativity, and passion have eliminated a lot of people's excuses for inertia. Why are you not an entrepreneur? I can't take that risk right now. My boys are about to go off to school. Now's not a good time. Oh, but when I get my creativity lightning bolt, when God hits me with my new idea, I'm going to go crazy then. So I've eliminated both of those excuses. You no longer have those excuses. So I hope that the inertia is busted through. My second thought is I hope that I change your perspective on starting a business, that the bootstrapping is still the preferred route. And no one will tell you that. The media doesn't think that's sexy and no one wants to talk about that. But if you can't figure out how to bootstrap it, I wouldn't do it. And a lot of people come to me and say, well, you're wrong because this industry, you need $1 million in this industry. And I'll go, okay, really? Listen to my radio guest from a year ago who did it with $800. and then come back and say you need $1 million. So one of my favorite stories, I'd love to tell the story of Joey Tatum. Joey Tatum wanted to be a restaurateur, a bar owner. A lot of men think that owning a bar with your own name, there's nothing cooler than that, right? He only had $5,000 and he was already 35. And he said, I have to start now. If I'm ever going to do this, now is the time. So he started a bar with $5,000. Think of the dump that place would be. It used to be a barbershop. It still had the big round circles on the floor where the chair made the impression, the barbershop chair. Those circles were still there. He couldn't remodel. The only thing he did was add a bathroom so he could get up to code, and he spent $4,000 doing that. He didn't have enough money the first weekend to have kegs. He only had 12-ounce bottles and cans. He stayed in business long enough to have weekend number 2. And he used the money he made weekend number 1 to have weekend number 2. And that made enough money to have weekend number 3. Well, 4 or 5 years later, someone came in and spent $3 million building one of those places across the street that had the big brass brewing thing. And you walked through the lobby and you could see them making the beer and everything. And the question is very simple. How many beers do you have to sell to recoup your $3 million investment? Versus how many beers do you have to recoup how many beers do you have to sell to recoup your $1,000 investment or your $5,000 investment? The end of the story is Joey now owns the place across the street and 22 bars and restaurants in that little college town. He owns the college town, in other words, including, and this is my favorite part, the ATM in the stadium, where a top 5 football team plays 8 times a year.
So starting with next to nothing, surviving on next to nothing, week after week, keeping the expenses low, just reinvesting the profits that he receives, eventually outlasting the competition across the street and expanding rapidly. That's the American dream, Jim. I mean,
Joey Tatum. What
else is there to add there for the business entrepreneur?
Right. That's right. And Joey Tatum is my brother-in-law, and my daughter's named Tatum, by the way, and a great model for all of us. And it shoots down this, I need $1 million to start my blank. No, you need to rethink how you're starting your blank and figure out how to do it in a way that reduces the risk so you don't lose your house.
Yes, right. And then you'd be devastated. So shifting to our last question, Jim, as we're running out of time here, you are optimistic and your energy is contagious here. So how do you stay centered, first of all, in your values and keep from becoming discouraged? I mean, in other words, are you naturally optimistic? Was Jim growing up, were you always the optimist?
Dude, I was the guy hiding in the bathroom looking at my watch because I wanted to get hit by a bus because I hated life. Didn't you hear that part of the story?
Jim. No, I remember, but I really want you to connect the two. So tell me, Jim, when did you change, or what choice did you make to change your perspective, and how do you keep becoming discouraged and going back to those natural tendencies?
So I made a conscious decision not to be the person that I was. And when I went to college, I went to the furthest university from my hometown I could find, 1,200 miles away. And during high school, I spent a big chunk of high school in Spain so I could hide. And then I went and lived in Japan so I could hide. I lived in Honolulu so I could hide. But also during that time, I learned to like myself and learned to be happy as an introvert, as an extrovert, whatever I wanted to be. And this is the topic of my next book called Personality by Decision. Decide who you want to be, what your life wants to look like, and hack your way into that. I am an introvert who has decided to be an extrovert for a living. I am 100% an introvert. I like to go and sit by myself and recharge. However, I know that it's hard to be an introvert and sell and speak and be a radio host and write books and stuff like that. So I've decided to do that, and over years and decades, personality by decision, I have done that. So I have a really good friend named Doug. And Doug is the guy who goes into a bar and gets 10 telephone numbers in 10 minutes. He's not particularly good looking. He's got a weird eye. He actually got shot in the eye by a BB gun when he was a kid. But he's still the hottest guy in the bar somehow. So I decided I wanted to be the hottest guy in the bar. And I'm a solid 4 on the scale of 1 to 10. I accept this, but
4.5.
Excuse me?
I said 4.5.
Okay, thank you. So that half. So anyway, I learned though I can be just like Doug. Doug doesn't go into the bar and ask, so do you come here? He goes in and asks a smart question. If he knows the girl's interested in art, for example. If you're stuck on a desert island and you can only look at one painting for the rest of your life, what painting do you want that to be? Well, you will spend 20 minutes talking to that girl if you want to. And that girl will think you are interesting after 20 minutes. I promise you that. Even if you say, I don't know who that painting is. Tell me about that painter. The girl is now going to find you to be an interesting person, an interesting conversationalist, and you're going to get her number. That's what Doug would do. He asks a stupid question that no one's thought of before, Wow, blue looks really good on you. Did you go to one of those colorologists, or do you just happen to wear blue, or did someone teach you to wear blue? Or tell me your history with the color blue. 20 minutes later, you're probably still going to be talking to that person. Mike, classiest guy I know. You go out with him, he sends you a thank you note written still to this day, right? He's impeccably honest. When you go, he was a roommate of mine, and he's the type guy who says, I'm going to be paying $20 more a month, so I'm going to get the bigger bedroom, the one that directly connects to the bathroom. Just the classiest guy I know. So I've decided to be a little bit like him, and I've taken a little bit of his personality and I'm hacking it to try to learn to be a better, classier person, because that's something that I want my personality by decision to be.
Excellent. I look forward to reading that book. That sounds amazing. When is it going to be released? Personality by Design.
Decision. I'm working on it now.
Sorry, by decision.
I'm working on it now. Mm-hmm. But I'm already doing the speaking for it. So the speaking is helping because it's helping find out what resonates with the audience, things like that. And by the way, I dated Ellen for 3 years after asking her, what painting would you like on a desert island? She thought it was the sexiest question anyone had ever asked her. She was an art history major at Wellesley, and we dated for 3 years because of my amazing first question. And just like if you're dating online, the Sally Hogshead, I don't know if you know her. She's an amazing speaker, one of the top speakers out there. She met her husband online. She liked him because he went through every part of her profile and made fun of it. So her profile said, I love to go hiking. And he responded, you live in Orlando. There's nowhere good to hike in Orlando. Don't lie to us. That response to her online profile got him the first date and now the wife.
That's
I don't know why I thought of that. I just did.
My friend's getting married, and he met his future spouse online, and he's a real introvert as well, and so we were always encouraging him to get out there. And it took him a while to even get out there, but now he did, and he found her, and so I think that's fantastic. Well, Jim, I want to thank you for your time. Our time has come to an end here, and sharing your wisdom and your inspiration on becoming an entrepreneur, finding your passion, serving other people, and doing it in a fun way where it doesn't have to be so complex and so serious, but also can be inspirational for improving the lives of other people. So any last thoughts or places to find you, Jim? You mentioned the Pod 24, the School for Startup Radio. I think it's jimbeach.com. Anywhere else that people can find you?
That's enough places. And just remember, your passion can be for the lifestyle. I'm passionate about being an entrepreneur, not the junk I sell. I love my lifestyle. Right after we get done here, I'm going to go pick the kids up from school and take them to soccer and have the rest of the day devoted to my family, my passion, and then I'll work late until the night because I'm an entrepreneur. Be passionate about the lifestyle, the freedom, the opportunity, not the crap you sell. Being passionate about crap is called materialism.
Well said, and thank you for sharing. And I want to thank our listeners again for another episode. Listen to another episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Although we didn't talk about capital gains tax deferral options in today's show with Jim, we did talk about LLCs and forming businesses in a way that will be more tax efficient and have some tax savings, as well as other income streams that you could start to add to your portfolio of wealth, which also has tax deferral and implications there for savings. So not having a clear plan is the enemy. So we encourage you to get a clear plan, work with someone who has a proven track record, and so that you can create and preserve more of your wealth. We look forward to seeing you on the next show.